Welcome to the Check Your Art podcast, a place where we discuss the intersection of faith and creativity.
Join us each week as we explore new ways to use our gifts to glorify God and inspire others.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. We're doing it.
Doing it.
Yeah. With the Check Your Art podcast.
Check your art.
Check your art.
I'm Megan.
I'm Jasmine. That was good.
Was it? I don't think we ever need to do that again.
I want to.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about goals.
Yeah.
How we know how to kind of decipher when they align with God's goals and his call for our lives, and when we know when they're too selfish or more like self-centered type goals.
Yeah. We're also kind of discuss our goals for the future.
Yes.
Like for the rest of this year.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good thing.
And be held accountable, which is always fun and never scary.
No, I love it.
So yeah.
I'm never scared, actually, ever.
No, I love to tell people what I'm gonna do, so I have to do it.
It's so good.
Which, like, small tangent, is so counterculture to society, I feel like. Because everyone's like, move in silence. Don't let them know what you're up to. Like, maybe actually do
To work hard.
Yeah.
Surprise them.
One day, be making $100,000 and they don't know how you got there.
They'll never know.
They will never know you've been dealing drugs.
Yes.
That's the only way to be a six-figure income person.
That's it. Only way to do it. No other way.
No.
None. How would you know if the goal that you have for your creative endeavors is selfish or from God?
Yeah, I think I struggle with this one a lot. I think a lot of like performers struggle with it. I don't know like how much of a struggle it is doing like paint and art therapy. Yeah, I could say that one.
Sure. It's
Yeah. But for me, it's always like I do like to perform. I don't love to be the center of attention. I think it's the dichotomy that I hold when I do have to get on stage. I used to have really bad stage fright. I think I still do outside of a worship setting. If I'm doing karaoke, I'll start shaking. But I think it comes down to, am I envisioning, like in the future, glory being given to God, or am I like trying to take his flowers, basically? Like when people say, oh, that was a really good job. Oh, I liked this thing about what you did. Am I like internalizing that as like, oh, I'm very good at what I do.
I did a good job.
Yeah, me.
Totally me.
Yeah, or am I going, oh, like, thank you, God, for giving me the ability to like encourage that person in this way. And so am I continuing to want that in the future? Or am I like, I want to be a rock star and I want to be Beyonce and I will not settle for anything less and I don't care how I get there.
Nothing less. Only Beyonce status.
Only Beyonce.
That's it. Yeah. No, that's good. I think it is a lot to do with, similar to what you're saying, like your initial response when someone compliments you, or when you're telling someone a goal.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you telling that to someone, and what is your attitude and heart when you're telling someone? Is it like, oh, I'm really proud of myself because I'm going to do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it more of, I'm kind of scared and I know I want to do this thing, but I know that God will be glorified through it? I think is a good way to kind of know, because I feel like it's hard to navigate at first, probably, but the more that you talk about whatever that goal is, the more it gets revealed to you, whether or not it's yours or God's.
Yeah. And like when you express that to other people, I think you're supposed to get feedback.
Yes.
Like if I told you, hey, I'm going to go audition for American Idol and I'm going to sing Toxic by Britney Spears, I feel like you'd be like, why?
Why that song in particular?
Yeah, what led you to that conclusion?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying if that was your goal for this year, that you shouldn't do it. I would just check your art.
Check your art. No, yeah. There's nothing wrong with like going on American Idol.
No,
I think it's just,
there are a lot of good Christian people who went on American Idol.
right. I think it's just your intention behind it. That's all.
I will say Ruben Studdard has dropped some crazy gospel hits. Yeah. So not disparaging him.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also there's like a difference you can kind of compare. I know that being Christian and wanting to do music, I have friends who do music who are secular. I have friends who do music who are Christian, but they do like, I guess, secular music. Like they don't cater to like portraying Christ a certain way in their songs.
They're not explicitly talking about.
Yeah, they're talking about their own life experience, and they have secular bands, and they go to like bars and perform and all that fun stuff. And I think there's unique ways to do that bring glory to God. But because like I have two friends that do secular music, both Christian. There's one that I actually don't talk to anymore, but it's like you could see through the way she talks about what she wants to do. It's me, you know. And then the other one who is like very involved in a church, has been a worship director, wants to do her own thing, but throughout the entire process, she's considering what God would have her do. And I think it's a very interesting, like, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Just
a different, like 2% different.
Yeah. And then that 2% is a big,
Makes a lot
price. Yeah.
of a difference. Yeah. And it matters a lot.
Yeah. And ultimately, like, it will determine what kind of success you have.
Yes. Yeah. And determine how people see you too. And how they, like, are they seeing Christ in you or are they seeing you?
Yeah.
And just you.
And that's the point, because you want the glory.
Right. And it's like, if you're a Christian, you should want people to see Christ in you. Even if they don't immediately see it, you know, it should be kind of shown in some way.
Yeah, I think it's almost like it becomes very apparent.
Hard to ignore.
Yeah, it's very clear, and like there have been times where just by listening to the way someone expresses themselves, I can be like, I think they know Christ.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, like it's coming off that way. Yeah. And I think that's like that's the goal.
Yeah.
To set goals that are ultimately, there's a word I'm looking for. Christ honoring. Yeah. I'm gonna say, yeah, Christ centered goals.
All good.
Honoring Christ. Big God energy.
Big God energy. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you're setting goals for your own creativity, creative endeavors, and etc., I think it's good to pray about them and good to necessary.
Yeah.
Pray about them. Not just good. Necessary to pray about them, to maybe even journal about them, talk to other people who are believers about them. Because if you talk to other people in community, they can tell you, you know, that if something sounds selfish or not. And it's always good to bounce off ideas of people.
Yeah. I think like that's where having a creative community is really helpful. Yeah. Because I can go to my pastor and be like, hey man, this is what I want to do. And he'll be like, sick.
Cool. Go do it.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't understand necessarily maybe the nuances that come with like a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I came to you with something, you'd be able to kind of suss it out better. Which is really helpful. And like if you don't have a creative community, let us be your creative community. We have on Instagram
and TikTok.
Yes, we do have that. TikTok. And we're both very fashionate.
And fashionable.
We are fashionable and passionate. Passionate. We're not. No, fashionable. No. We often wear the same thing.
We often do wear the same thing.
It's really problematic.
It is. We've been around together too long.
I hate it. It's fine. But we're both very passionate about creativity and navigating a creative space, and that's why we're here.
And being in community.
Yeah. Big community counts.
Say community energy
Big energy this entire time.
all time. Yeah. So that leads into some scripture that we had that kind of backs up a bit of what we're talking about. And there are a lot more that definitely back this up too. These are just examples.
Yeah.
Do you want to read yours first while I get mine up?
Yeah. This is what came to mind for me. Super basic. I'm gonna read Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. NLT, just in case you're wondering. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take." And so for me, that means like I'm going to lean into God with like everything that I have and everything I do. And he's going to show me what I should be striving for. And like when I seek his will in those goals, he'll show me what I have to do to accomplish that because he put it in me. He's setting it in motion. And he is not a God that just leaves things unfinished. It's like his whole thing.
Like he, it is finished.
Yeah.
He kind of thing.
So, wow,
Like the eye off the crop.
yeah. And also like being the alpha and omega.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like the alpha beta. Like that's the whole
It's not like A, B. It's like A through Z.
Yeah. It's the whole shebang.
The whole one.
And so just trusting him in that and in the process, I think is a really big part of goal setting because it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that scripture encourages me that I don't actually have to really know what's going on. I just have to be obedient.
Yeah. Yeah, it is encouraging. And I was thinking of the verse Galatians 1, verse 10, where it says, this is NIV, it says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." And so that's very much applicable with when it comes to setting your goals and also just in your creative efforts in general when you're doing something and setting a goal. Are you doing it for God's glory? Are you doing it because you feel like Christ leading you into that and you feel like he will be honored? Or are you doing it because you want to honor yourself or because you want praise from other people? Like you want the likes, you want the follows, the views, give me those millions of views, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that topic, that's a big reason why I don't like post covers or anything on social media. I feel like covers of songs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like and that's for me at the end of the day. I think like some people are very responsible on Medium. I really like to be validated. I know nobody else likes that. I really like the validation that comes with I post this thing and people are like, "Oh my gosh,
You're so good.
you did a thing."
Very famous, yeah.
Beyonce. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I do love that.
Yes, it's so nice to be validated. So nice when people like you.
I don't know if that's like
That's yeah.
JK.
No one likes them. I'm just kidding.
You have at least one person who likes you, right?
One person.
2 cats, also.
2 cats.
1.5 cats.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
So we mapped out like one big goal for the year and then 2 smaller goals that kind of go along with that, I guess.
Yeah.
So my big goal is to write and release a single. Just one song. I just want to write one song. And record it and have it produced and release it out into the world. And I feel like I arrived on that because it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And it's kind of always been like an issue of I don't feel like I'm capable of that. But I think like lately, like in the past year or so, God's like revealed to me my gifting as far as like music goes and like composition. I can't play a lot of instruments, but I hear a lot of like really interesting sounds. And I think like when I've written songs and just kind of put them together and posted them, and they're typically like short songs type deals, there's like the recurring like flavor of what God has implanted in my brain. And so I think it would be like very, very God honoring and helpful just to my creative process to at least get one song out there. And then to go along with that, my two smaller goals is one, to write an entire EP. To me, that's like 7 songs. Um, and record demos. So maybe I could have a whole EP one day.
That'd be sick.
That'd be great. And then another goal that kind of goes along with those is to create a collective worship experience. Because on top of like just being able to like hear sounds and appreciate that, I think that comes from a love of hearing a lot of people worship.
It's powerful.
It is so powerful and so good. And it's what I enjoy most about leading worship. I will almost never have both of my ears ears. I'm gonna say that and people are gonna be like, ears?
Yeah. Very little headset.
Yeah, I have like you put headphones in to hear the music so you don't have to hear the people. But I want to hear the people. And so I usually take at least one out. Problematic, that's fine.
I don't make it work.
But yeah, and so part of my desire is to lead people into a space of collective worship where it doesn't matter if you play well or sing well, because I'm a firm believer of most anyone can carry a tune.
Yeah.
Like there are very few people who can only screech. But I also want to see that place become one of like healing and prayer and the freedom to worship that isn't like the cookie cutter version of what we see modeled in church. I'm a big like dancer, even though I'm bad at it. I love to hop around during worship, and I think to have the freedom to do that is really nice. And so I want to create a space where that's welcomed and where people can just freely express themselves like in Christ. And I think that really just comes with showing up in a space consistently.
Yeah.
And welcoming people into it. And I want to see how that goes. That is something that God specifically like gave to me one day. Selah Worship Collective, follow me on Instagram. I have 2 posts and 4 followers.
Selah Worship Collective. Yeah.
But I was like sitting in a coffee shop doing worship director stuff because at the time I was like actively working that role. And I was just listening to worship music and I closed my eyes and I was like, I love Sunday, but it's not where I want to be forever. And God was like, well, look at this. And I was like, I see it. And I would like to do it.
I would like to do that.
Yeah, I would like to go to there.
Yeah.
So that is my goals and how I arrived into the goals.
Love it.
Paths.
Very good. Very good. Very God honoring. Big God energy. Big God energy.
Yep.
Yeah. So my goals, my one big goal is to launch a one-on-one, like individual therapeutic art program, kind of like several week long, like 5 weeks or something. There'd be a theme to it. And I have a lot kind of going into that and like what I want to do, how I want to execute it and all this stuff. Getting a lot of coaching with it, which is really nice too. And it's going to be really funny because my goals and your goals, like they are both God honoring, but yours is so obviously about God.
Yeah.
And mine are not. You know, like and this is another podcast idea or thing that we're going to talk about at some point too, where it's like, should you have a Christian based business or should you be a Christian with a business? Like how do you navigate that too? So that's kind of the difference here as well is, I'm a Christian with a business that doesn't necessarily talk about God all the time.
Yeah.
So, but with therapeutic art, there is so much that comes out with it. And it just feels so much like God's character to use art in a way that is therapeutic and to lead and guide others into that kind of sacred time and space. And I always try to pray before each session that I lead, whether it's a group session or an individual session, and whether or not the person is a Christian or not. I mean, most of the time they're not, but they still, without fail, at the end of every session that I've led that has been live where I've gotten like feedback, they've been like, this has been so great. And they just affirm the calling each time.
Yeah.
Which is really good. So not only am I getting affirmation from other people, not that that's the goal, but it's affirming that God has called me to do this and that I should keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that even though I'm not like leading people to Christ necessarily with these sessions, I'm still I still have this kind of character that is representing God.
Yeah.
And something that I'm doing is therapeutic enough to maybe plant a seed for them later. To go check God out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like healing that happens like even before you know Christ sometimes.
Oh yeah.
To like kind of have the soil for that.
Yeah. And I think if you have that space open, that kind of healing space that has nothing to do with Christ,
Yeah.
you know, within reason,
Yeah.
then I think it opens so many doors for that person to just explore on their own.
Yeah.
And then eventually, hopefully, lead to Christ.
Yeah.
And so that's my big goal, is to launch that. And 2 smaller goals that they sort of go with it, but they're also a little bit separate. One is to get my website and logo up to my standards, which like I want to love looking at my website,
Yeah.
love my logo, because if I love it, people that
Yeah.
want to book with me will love it too.
Yeah.
And clients are going to love it. That's the goal. That's
Yeah.
the hope that people will love it. And then I've said to get 5 more members in my group, Clover Buds community. It could be more, could be less, just more would be great because it's similar. So it's like live sessions, but group, and all the sessions are pre-recorded first. And then I have several times during one day of the month that people can join live and we can do the session together. And there's a lot of other things to it, like there are monthly challenges. Sometimes there are little take-home assignments. There's obviously a community platform for people to interact with each other. There's even what I call an all caps room. We can vent. It's very nice. You can share your artwork and all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would love to get more people into that because I know it's beneficial, and I'm just not reaching the right people yet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that like comes with the steadfastness of just showing up and like allowing God to like bring people in. He's shepherd. Yes, you do. Yeah. And I think I was talking about this with one of our friends today. Just in how like Christians tend to have to play the long game.
Yes.
And
So true.
it's like for the most part, it's not going to happen overnight because like God cultivates so much in that patience and in the waiting. Like to do it overnight would really be a shame.
It really would. It wouldn't do it justice.
It would not.
Yeah.
And that's so that like loyalty and faithfulness comes in. Yeah.
Yeah. It wouldn't even be done well if it was done overnight.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I would be falling apart. If I had 5 or 10 more members starting tomorrow.
Oh, no.
What I do? I don't know.
You didn't rebrand for
That's not about. Leave me alone.
But I also feel like every time you rebrand, the vision has become more clear.
It has. Yeah. Hopefully no more rebrands in my future because I think it's pretty clear now.
I think it's good.
Should I rebrand again? No, we're supposed to say no. Do it. Yes, no.
Yes. For me. I mean, I'm technically just under what my first rebrand. Wow. But I don't really have a brand that's visible, so no one knows.
Okay, it's okay. It still counts. It's a secret. No one knows to know. Nobody. And nobody. Ain't no loud.
So I think that wraps us up. We share our goals. We want to hear about yours. Feel free to comment on YouTube, on Instagram, hit us with a DM
DM, a direct message, if you will.
Hit us on TikTok. And let us know. We'll do some goal check-ins throughout the year. And I would encourage you to like sit down, pray, ask God, like, what does he want you to do this year? How can you serve him this year with your creativity? Yep. So that'll be a fun time. I always love to do that. Commune with the Lord. A little chit chat. Talk. We gave you 2 scriptures to kind of, meditate on and like kind of walk through in regards to that. But do you want to tell, what to do next week?
Yeah, man. Tune in to next week's episode.
Yeah.
And you can, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the little subscribe button if you so desire.
Yeah, give us that fat no teeth.
That's right. Rate that bell. Subscribe anywhere you're listening for the podcast. And yeah, we are on Instagram and TikTok at Check Your Art and
ART.
Yes. Despite what the graphic.
Yeah, and where can they find Clover Corner Co?
Oh, Clover Corner Co. They can find me at Clover Corner Co.
On Instagram. That's crazy.
I had a TikTok, not super active on TikTok, but definitely Instagram. And there's a yes, very much. Yes, I have a really, really good latte art that you should definitely.
Yeah, it's the best.
So good. You're gonna be amazed.
And they can find me. Thank you for asking. I already said on Selah, Selah Worship Collective on Instagram. I kind of have a TikTok, but please don't look for me there because it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
And also, if you're local to the Raleigh area, I'm going to start doing like worship in the park sessions because it's warm now, or it's supposed to be.
It is.
So that's where all the announcements will be posted on my Instagram. Announcements.
Heck yeah.
Announcement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my announcement. Yes. So find us HMU and
TTYL.
Might be about shit. Okay, bye.
See ya. That was fun. Let's do it again sometime.
If you like watching podcasts, we're on YouTube. If you're more of a listener, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and elsewhere in the internet ether.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where we share shorter clips and fun little bloopers.
Okay, bye.